What's up, weirdos? My name's Felicia and I like scary movies, and today we're talking about a zombie flick. And not just any zombie flick, a romantic one. This movie is called Eat, Brains, Love. Clearly a play on Eat, Pray, Love, which is a book that I have read and, laughed and cried through. But Eat, Brains, Love is based on a book by Jeff Hart. The screenplay was written by Mike Hero and David Strauss, and it was directed by Rodman Fiender. Now, I did watch the trailer for a few things tonight to see what I wanted to watch, what I wanted to review today, and I will say this trailer really reeled me in. It sort of seemed like a zombie Bonnie and Clyde tale, and I was interested in that. So, it's about two teens that contract a virus, zombie one. It's also a sexually transmitted zombification, a la It Follows, etc. And they eat a bunch of their classmates. Yikes. Then they must go on the run, Bonnie and Clyde style, to escape from a scary government conspiracy situation. So I got a few references going through this movie. It sort of reminded me of a cross between The End of the Fucking World, which I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it was. I really liked that show. And Stranger Things-ish, and like a silly supernatural teen TV show. Now, as you've probably heard on this channel before, it's not that I'm anti-zombie, I'm like casual zombie. I don't typically seek out zombie movies as I do other types of monsters, but I'm like, we're chill, we're like okay with each other. But the thing that I really do like about zombie movies is the really fun gore you can get going on, and this movie delivers. Because this is like an indie movie, I don't know the budget, but I assumed it's not huge, and they really put a lot into their gore effects, and I loved it. They show so much flesh eating, so much bodies being ripped apart, and it's all just really well done, but it's still this is a very comedic film. I don't know if I said that at the beginning. It's categorized as romance horror, but I would say it's comedy, horror, romance? Comedy, romance, horror. I don't know. But there was a couple times I started watching it before Travis went to work, and he was sort of taking a nap, and then he woke up and looked at the screen. He was like, oh no. And I was like, oh. Next thing I've liked is a lot of the concepts they brought in that made this a very different kind of zombie film. One thing that I loved, which is in the trailer, so I don't feel like it's really giving anything away, but basically the couple, which by the way, our leading man, Jake, he's sort of this nerdy guy in school, doesn't have a chance with the hottest cheerleader, who is Amanda Blake, played by Angelique Rivera. And these are sort of the two people, the unlikely couple, if you will, that have to spend the film together. And while they're on the run, they run into this zombie couple that teaches them the way that they live, which is by basically surviving on animals until they are really hungry, and then they hunt down pedophiles, rapists, etc., and kill them instead. So it's sort of this fun, almost like Dexter-esque thing of being a vigilante and only killing people that you think deserve to die for whatever reason. And that was sort of a fun twist on a zombie tale I hadn't really seen before, particularly because these zombies have full-on consciousness. These are not brain-dead zombies walking around just trying to eat whatever they can. It's basically that this virus makes you want to eat human flesh, but as long as you keep it satiated, is that the word? Good on me. You can sort of live a normal-ish life, which is, once again, another fun kind of concept twist on the zombie tale. Another thing about this movie that I'm not sure if I liked or disliked, or maybe I just felt like it wasn't necessary, I'm not sure, but there's another layer to all this where there's this government conspiracy going on that they are taking people with this virus and turning them into slaves of some sort. And there's a bunch of people that the government has hired that are telepathic. And so we have this main girl that we're dealing with. Her name is Cass, played by Sarah Yarkin. And she has these telepathy skills, and she uses them to help the government find people that have contracted the zombie virus. And in the meantime, also falls in love with Jake, basically just through his memories. It's like this whole other layer that feels a little Stranger Things, which is why I mentioned that earlier, that I'm just not sure the movie needed, but it's there. I don't know. I do think they could have simplified the story, and I would have been still on board, but I don't think it necessarily hurts the movie. Now, I'll just say a couple things that potentially do hurt the movie, but I will say this is a fun time. I enjoyed watching it. I would recommend it to you guys. It's a good zombie flick. It's funny, it's silly, it's over the top, it's gory, but there's just like a couple things that were kind of irksome to me. One being that Jake, our leading man, his character is so unlikable. So unlikable the entire time. From the moments we have narration with him, the moments that he's just in scenes, everything about him is so annoying because he plays this sort of crossover between the personality of the dumb jock stereotype while being a nerdy kid with not a lot of friends. If that makes sense. So he sort of has these bad qualities of a couple of high school stereotypes and not really any good qualities going on. And thus that makes it confusing for me that these two girls in the story are falling for him and are so invested in him. And like maybe it's because he's the only guy around because there's a zombie apocalypse happening. But even so, I'm just like, he's so unlikable. He's just like such a dunce. Like he's a dingbat. He's kind of a jerk. I don't know. I just don't like him. And yet we have these two strong, pretty interesting female characters that are falling all over him and fighting over him. And I'm just like eye rolly a little bit. And then the last thing that bugged me, I think, is the character of Amanda Blake. Once again, she's the hot high school cheerleader. Everybody falls in love with, blah, blah, blah. And for me, she was so over-sexualized in this movie. And it's one thing for her to be sort of over-sexualized in Jake's fantasies, which she is. But then later on, just in like the normal scenes in the movie, I think she's very over-sexualized. And I was just kind of like, I can tell a bunch of dudes made this. And they also did this thing with her where they have her as basically a piece of meat on screen, and then randomly she can like fix a car. It's literally like sort of Megan Fox in Transformers or something, but it's like she's like this like hot piece of meat and she can randomly fix a car and she's like, now I'm cool and down to earth. And I was just like, I just don't like how that character was written. But then she had some fun moments, like the actress I liked, and she had some fun zombie moments. But yeah, those are a couple like eye-rolly things for me. But overall, a really fun zombie flick that I haven't really heard anyone talking about. It just came out on Valentine's Day to VOD. Obviously, it didn't have a theatrical release. So these movies do need a little more help getting found. So I hope that some of you guys will check it out. And I think that's about it. I will link the Amazon down below, so if you guys want to go rent it. You can also probably find it on YouTube, iTunes, those kinds of places. But yeah, let me know if you check it out. And now, story time. This is random, having nothing to do with horror movies, but last night I went to an independent wrestling event, and I've gone to some wrestling things. I've gone to Monday Night Raw, I guess twice, I think. I'm actually going again in March. And last night I went to my first independent wrestling thing. It was through this, I don't know what they're called. It's called Outlaw Wrestling. I don't know what the level is called, but it's called Outlaw Wrestling. And I had such a great time. It was like in this church, and I know you guys sometimes like story times, and I always want to tell you guys stuff, but I'm like talking about a movie and I feel like it's like weird to just like randomly talk about other stuff. So I'm going to just do it now. But it was so funny to me because it was in a church, in like a basketball court church thing. And so there was these like giant statues of Jesus everywhere while people are just like, you know, doing wrestling and screaming and drinking beer. And it was the funniest. I had such a great time. There were literally, I don't know what came over me. Because of my boyfriend's interest in wrestling, I've sort of, you know, watched it, you know, had an okay time. But for some reason, something about this independent wrestling, I was like cheering and oh-knowing and screaming and covering my eyes. I was so in it and excited. I had a great time. So that's it. I'm definitely going to try to go to more of those because, like, it was so energizing. Is that the word? I was just, like, hyped. I was, like, so hyped. I was like, I want to be involved in this world. It was sick. So that's it. But I hope you guys have a great night, a good weekend, and have a nice scream. Bye.